Hi, I'm Chris Bishop and a very warm welcome to the Entrepreneurial Edge. Now we're here at a Johannesburg landmark, the Fournos Bakery in Dunkeld. Now it started nearly 20 years ago with just 2 tables like these. And now it's expanded to all of this. Now we're here to meet one of the founders to find out how he got the entrepreneurial edge.
My name is Michael Kalogirou. I'm one of the partners of Fournos Bakery and one of the founders of Fournos Bakery. This is what we do. This is our life. We look after bakeries and we try and make people happy.
Now here we are, we're sat in the middle of one of your first stores. And when you come in the morning, I mean, what does this place mean to you?
This place is a hub and a heart for me. I can't explain to you how much vibe and how much life there is here. From early in the morning, we open the doors at 6:30 in the morning, and I can't explain to you how people enjoy and love this place. We call it Fournos because Fournos means oven. And an oven emits heat and has a lot of vibe, and this is what this is all about. This is what our business is all about. Heat, warmth, and love.
Let's just talk about you. You were born here in Johannesburg, in Hillbrow, and you grew up here. Your parents came from Greece many years ago. Your family, I mean, were you born with a silver spoon in your mouth? What was your family like?
No, I definitely wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I had to work for everything I had. My dad was old school, hard-working man. Both my parents, they came here as immigrants and they tried to make a better life for themselves. I was born here, consider myself to be South African, and staunch South African, through and through.
You came through, you left school, and you decided to go to hotel school here in Johannesburg.
I was in a hotel school. I managed to win Chef of the Year in a hotel school in 1985, and also the Catering Student of the Year. And I was lucky enough to get a bursary and go and work in Europe. And I worked in some really good hotels and restaurants in Europe, in Italy and in France, in some Michelin star restaurants. And I came back and I thought I knew everything. Obviously I didn't.
But obviously you must have learned a lot in that time. I mean, just tell us, I mean, how sort of wow were these restaurants in Europe that you were working in?
I worked in Paul Bocuse's restaurant, Lyon. I worked in some really good hotels in Italy, and I worked in the Channel Islands. It was good experience and it was great exposure for me. But like I said, I came back to South Africa thinking that it was all about the product. I learned a really good lesson. One of the lessons that I learned early on was that it's not only about the product, it's more about the customer.
So you went out on your own at that point. It was in the late 1980s. You opened up your own restaurant in ROSEBANK, just down the road from here in Johannesburg. Just tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, it wasn't as great as we were hoping it to be. We opened up a restaurant, the 3 partners that are involved in Fournos at the moment. We managed to open up a restaurant called Palazzo. It wasn't as big a success as we were hoping it was going to be. Again, because I didn't emphasize on the customer, I emphasized on the product more than the customer. So it was a good lesson for me.
How hard was that lesson? How hard did you learn it?
It was a very tough lesson, but it was a good lesson for me because when at that age I tended to be a little arrogant and I thought I knew everything there was to know about food. And I learned that I didn't. We learn on a daily basis, and we learn that there's more to business than just product or quality of product.
I mean, cast your mind back. How difficult was it those days? I mean, bearing in mind you were in the kitchen cooking up world-class food, and yet your restaurant wasn't really prospering. Just tell us a little bit about some of those memories.
The food was great. We had a restaurant that was serving up. We called it creative cuisine and cocktails. The menu would change on a daily basis, and we had a small restaurant that seated about 60 people, and then we had a larger outside area that seated about 120 people. So it was quite a big place. It was quite a big operation. And cocktails that we made that were spewing out dry ice and were very different at the time. So it was very creative and different, and I don't know whether it was right for the time. But having said that, our emphasis wasn't on the customer, and this is what I'd like to see, emphasis on the customer.
Now you closed down that restaurant, and then what gave you the idea for Fournos? And it must have been brave to have taken the new venture at that time.
We didn't close the restaurant, we sold the restaurant. It was still a going concern. I think it changed names and it carried on. What happened at the time, one of my partners was involved in Fournos already. He'd already opened the first store in ROSEBANK. So the first store in ROSEBANK was already trading. What happened was the area that was a car park area got taken up by the new Hyatt hotel that was built, and the store started to take a little bit of strain because parking wasn't available. The other partner, the financial partner, saw the opportunity in the Dunkeld Centre, and he suggested that we open up a second store in the Dunkeld Centre. And this is what happened. We opened up the second store in the Dunkeld Centre, the second Fournos Bakery, which turned out to be a big success. It was a 100 square metre store, little store.
Is this the one we're sitting in now?
It's the one we're sitting in now, yes. It was a tiny little store. It was a 100 square metre store. It was from pillar to pillar. And there was a pizza store next to us, and the pizza store closed down after 6 months. And we broke the wall down, we put a partition up, and we clicked the store together overnight. First month we opened, I think we were doing 60,000 Rand turnover. Second month we opened, we were doing double that. The third month we were doing triple that. We had so much capacity, we were almost running 24 hours a day. We only had one oven, we had to squeeze in another oven. We bought ourselves a little coffee machine, I remember, and because we couldn't produce enough product, we used to give product for free. We used to give coffee for free so that we could keep customers sitting down and having a coffee while they were waiting for product to come out the oven.
Now, in those early days, it sounds like quite exciting days. I mean, what was your day like? What were you doing?
I used to wake up at 2:30 in the morning. I used to, in my little Ford Laser, used to go and pick up bakers in town, and used to bring them to the store, and we used to start baking. 3:30 in the morning we'd start baking. 6:30, 6:45, we opened the store. By 7 o'clock the store was closed. From the time I had finished cashing up, I think I was in bed by 8:30 at night. For 8 months I didn't take a day off. It was hard slog.
As an entrepreneur, do you think this is the time where you steel yourself into the finished article in these terrible, difficult days?
I think times are tough at the moment, and I think they are getting tougher. But if you go through life without trials and tribulations, you'll never get anywhere.
And what were the best times? What were the happiest times in those early days when you really thought you were onto something? It sounds like you were in the right place at the right time.
The happiest times are always the simplest times. And I think we had some simple times where things were going well, even though it was hard work. They were going well, and we decided to open up a few more stores. Bigger is not necessarily always better, and we did open up a few more stores. At one stage we had 13 stores, and we ended up closing a few because we weren't really making money. So I think even if when one grows, one needs to make sure that you grow in a clever way.
What were the biggest difficulties looking back when you were setting up and building this business?
Biggest difficulties are always people. Trying to train staff, trying to train them properly, and then making sure that the staff and the people that you train bring across what you're trying to bring across.
And were there times when you thought you'd throw in the towel maybe and just pack it in and walk away?
Often. I even think of that sometimes today. But yes, this is business. I think every entrepreneur thinks of giving up every now and then, but it's the resolve in each one of us that makes us better.
What does get you down sometimes? I mean, you can't see everything looks happy in here when I walk in, but
red tape gets me down. When government puts red tape in place, and makes life difficult for us. Red tape gets me down.
We'll talk a lot more about the industry in the second half, but you must have had thousands upon thousands of people through the store down the years. How difficult is it to build up as an entrepreneur that sort of solid client base where people keep coming back?
I think loyalty is one of the most important things in business, and customer is the most important person in any business. The sooner we realize that in any business, whatever business you're in, the customer is your most important person in your business. There's no one more important than your customer.
What are the sometimes strange inquiries you have to listen to sometimes?
On a daily basis, we listen to them all. One day I had a lady asking me, how could we possibly sell her this bread? And I looked at the bread and it was a perfectly normal olive bread. She said there were flies in it, but it was olives.
You must have had some other funny ones too down the years.
We've had many things that have happened that have been quite funny. Yes, we had a lady walk in here with her dog, and when we asked her, please, would you mind leaving your dog behind? She says, my dog. This is not my dog. This is my companion. And if you don't let me in with my companion, I'll never come here again. So we let her in.
And have you had like celebrities and the like?
We've had many celebrities. We've had Nelson Mandela in our store. We had in the days just before the transition in 1994, we had FW the clerk come in here with 17 bodyguards. And I remember one of the manageresses saying to me, who's that guy? He looks very familiar to me. And it was FW de Klerk.
Oh, and what did Nelson Mandela and FW de Klerk order when they came in?
They were very quiet. They sat down, they had a coffee, they both ate a meal, and they just went about their way.
Hold that thought there. We'll talk a lot more about the industry in the second half. Do stay with us, do come back after the ad break, which we're going to now, and join us at Fournos Bakery in Dunkeld, Johannesburg. Stay with us.